Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert, covering The Sound of Freedom. So The Sound of Freedom has actually beaten several franchise Hollywood blockbusters. It was doing well, and then it just kept going and going and going. Of course, it never had the kind of budget that any of these Hollywood blockbusters had, either to make or promote or produce the movie. But it caught on like wildfire, and it also had a dedicated base of people who were well aware that the movie existed and helped to fund the marketing and promotion of the movie so it could get to theaters in the first place. Those people, while they funded it financially, also supported it promotionally, even just through their social media. That's enough to get the attention of the right other influencers to get the thing heavily promoted and get this kind of massive success. $178 million as of today in domestic box office. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you. I'm trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, so if you can't subscribe, please do subscribe. So many interesting aspects to The Sound of Freedom. Independently produced, a passionate creative project, otherwise wasn't going to get distributed if not for the help of crowdfunding and of people of faith who wanted to see this movie come out. Let's get into the story from The Messenger Entertainment. How Sound of Freedom outgrows blockbusters like Mission Impossible and Indiana Jones. The modestly budgeted film has made more money domestically than the latest installments of major tentpole franchises. Indiana Jones, in particular, was considered to be a gigantic financial failure. It only passed Indiana Jones by a few million. Comparatively, Sound of Freedom was a much bigger success because it had a much lower budget, production cost, and promotional budget. Against all odds, the latest installments of the Indiana Jones and Mission Impossible franchises have met an unexpected destiny, falling behind the surprise hit Sound of Freedom at the domestic box office. As of Wednesday, the modestly budgeted film about one man's fight against human trafficking is now at $178 million, and it hasn't even been released internationally yet. People know about this movie all over the world. It's moved ahead of the stateside grosses of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 that only did $160 million, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny that only did $173 million, with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny being at an over $300 million budget. It should be noted that both blockbusters have more than doubled those totals at the overseas box office, $524 million worldwide for Mission Impossible, $375 million for Indiana Jones, whereas Sound of Freedom is set to begin opening in other territories over the next few weeks. Sound of Freedom initially seemed to come out of nowhere to take the #1 spot on its July 4th release day, beating Harrison Ford's recently released Indiana Jones swan song, Dial of Destiny. But the momentum has only built, leading to the logical question, how did this film, that cost $15 million, take down $300 million behemoth movies? There are a few factors, beginning with the much-discussed Pay It Forward campaign pushed by Angel Studios. Sound of Freedom ends with star Jim Caviezel encouraging the audience to buy an extra ticket for someone who would not otherwise be able to see the film. There have been suggestions that many of these tickets were never actually used and mostly just served to juice the Sound of Freedom's box office numbers. Disney does that all the time. Disney certainly did that with Black Panther and with Captain Marvel. They called it promotional. They bought their own tickets and added directly to their own box offices. However, the director of Sound of Freedom, Alejandro Monteverde, insists that the Pay It Forward program resulted in less than 10% of the film's haul. And that sounds realistic. They're not going to sell 3 times as many tickets as a result of saying, hey, why don't you pay it forward and buy someone else a ticket? Great promotional idea. And I'm sure a lot of people got to see the film that way. And yes, probably plenty of people never did use the tickets, but obviously some people did. And yet that accounting debate might be the least controversial conversation point regarding Sound of Freedom. Hailing from Angel Studios, a company known for wholesome and Christian content, Sound of Freedom is based on Tim Ballard, played by Caviezel, a former government agent who quit his job to dedicate himself to saving children from sex trafficking. With an A+ cinema score and an incredible 99% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, the film has benefited from unprecedented word of mouth. For example, on a trip earlier this month to Texas, the author's stepfather started asking him about Sound of Freedom, revealing that he was told he really needed to check it out. For context, this is a guy whose only trip to the theater in the last couple of years was to see Avatar: The Way of Water, but Sound of Freedom has managed to reach people across the country who aren't frequent moviegoers and view this as one of the few made to appeal to them. And it's true. This is one of the few movies made to appeal to normal people. Another element of the film's success lies in the political fire it stoked. Sound of Freedom has been labeled a QAnon-powered project, a claim Monteverde rejects and has called heartbreaking. But Caviezel hasn't been shy about his QAnon leanings, and the film has been embraced and supported by right-wing heavyweights like Donald Trump, who hosted a screening, and Ted Cruz, who tweeted to his 6 million followers, "Wow, wow, wow, go see Sound of Freedom." With many of the same people slamming smash hit Barbie as woke, conservative audiences are rallying to what they consider to be the anti-woke answer to Hollywood's usual offerings. Another thing that's amazing about Sound of Freedom is that the people who invested in the advertising and promotion for the movie got their money back plus a profit. Now, I'm not saying you should invest in movies. Investing in movies is a great way to lose money. But the people that invested collectively $5 million in Sound of Freedom did get all their money back, plus a 20% return on investment in the course of 90 days. It only took 90 days, and they got back $1.20 for every dollar they invested. Here's what the original offering for Angel Studios' Sound of Freedom theatrical release was all about. They raised $5 million, and what was the $5 million for? It was for the theatrical release of Sound of Freedom, or P&A. P&A stands for Prints and Advertising, an old theatrical industry term back from when movies were printed onto physical film, and then the physical film prints of the movies would be distributed to theaters. The term is still widely used today to describe the cost of taking a finished film, like The Sound of Freedom, and marketing it to moviegoers. It's a crucial piece of the marketing budget for a film, and in the film industry is attractive to investors. Why? Because with P&A, money is only raised after the film is already made and you know the quality of the work. So you get to see the finished product and say, hey, would you like to help us invest in our advertising and promotion of this movie? Look how good it is. You say yes, and you can say no. And it's not like you're investing in the making of the movie, which when you make something can always go wrong. I have published more than 1,000 comic books. I've done a couple of crowdfunding campaigns. And I can tell you, making these things is never as easy as it seems like it should be. You can pay for things, you can do things you've done before, and it doesn't always work out like you planned. As they say here, with P&A, money is only raised after the film is already made and you know what it looks like. Also, the investors who invest in P&A are also last money in and first money out. So they're the first to be paid back when a theater takes their cut. The explanation is, once the money came in from movie theaters, it went back to pay the investors who put up the money to promote the movie. That promotional budget gets paid, plus the investor return they're supposed to get, and then the studio can share the profits of whatever's left over if there is anything left over. What was being sold here is a revenue participation agreement. If the theatrical revenues are enough to cover the cost, there will be up to 120% return on investment, but not more than that, because the risk is considered a limited risk. You didn't risk money in getting the movie made. If the theatrical release does not earn enough, investors would lose some or all of their investment. How much did investors get back? $1 million on $5 million invested, so they got back $6 million. And if the people who originally produced Sound of Freedom decided they wanted to finance the promotion themselves, they could have risked $5 million additionally, or put up another $5 million additionally, and then they would not have had to pay back the $5 million cost plus $1 million for the use of those people's money. But the additional advantage that they got in doing this was they were able to get people who were financially and emotionally and personally feeling they were invested in the movie. There were 6,678 people that did this. Those are people that would be promoting this on their social media. And that can make a huge difference. Here, they answer questions about it. Am I investing in the Sound of Freedom movie? No, this is not an opportunity to purchase equity in Sound of Freedom. It's an investment in the film's P&A. How much will you make? No return is guaranteed. Only invest what you can afford to lose. the maximum repayment is 120% of what you put up. How will the investment make money? Distributions will be paid out of the movie's revenues. P&A investors received funds after the theaters took their cut and before any other investors or owners got paid anything. The minimum investment was $1. You could invest multiple times in it. The movie took a long time to come out. It was completed in 2018 originally. The movie's bounced around a few studios since it was completed. When COVID-19 hit, a lot of the projects got shelved, and Sound of Freedom needed a new distributor to get it off the shelf. And that's where Angel Studios came in. Angel Studios hasn't just produced Sound of Freedom, they also did the really popular crowdfunded series called The Chosen. Angel Studios is a streaming media service that offers family-friendly entertainment that amplifies light with titles including The Chosen, Dry Bar Comedy, His Only Son, The Wingfeather Saga, and Tuttle Twins. They focus on content supported by equity crowdfunding, where individual investors have the opportunity to share ownership in the titles. They also offer different levels of investment at different times. It's interesting just to look at the projects. Again, I'm not going to suggest that you invest money in producing movies or invest money in P&A for movies or anything like that, but it is really interesting. I have done crowdfunded projects. These are just two of them. College of the Dead, Graduation Day, where college costs you an arm and a leg. And it's a full-color 48-page graphic novel. And we did pretty well with it. We covered our costs. We made a little bit of a profit. This wasn't something where we were looking for investors. It was just something I did so I could release the books and get them out to people. And it was a lot of fun to do. The books came out great and people really enjoyed them. I also did a project called The Mermaids, which was kind of like Game of Thrones with mermaids, a project I've been working on and off for about 10 years to get done. I came up with the idea. I worked with another writer and another editor and a couple of different artists to put the project together, shipped it as promised, didn't do as much business as the College of the Dead book, but different books and different projects will do different amounts. And just like Sound of Freedom, they'll do a sequel to Sound of Freedom. Supposedly there's one in the works already. We don't have a lot of details on it. It may do as well as the original. It may not do as well. They may do another series based on another idea and it might not do as well. It doesn't matter. In publishing, you always do your best. You do what you're passionate about. You hope people enjoy the work and then you move on and you do the next project. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Can you believe that the Sound of Freedom actually beat multi-million-dollar franchise projects from major studios? How is that even possible? It shows you that the studios shouldn't intimidate anybody. Big companies shouldn't intimidate anybody. If you have something you're passionate about doing, you do your best job, you put it out there, hopefully get other people involved in one way or another, and then push for success. And if it doesn't work the first time, it'll work the next time or the time after that. Even if you don't have a big financial success, when you try to do a project, you'll gain a lot of experience, and that really is worth a lot. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.